Welcome into the 11Alive Plus Streaming Center. I'm Zach Merchant. It is 2 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon, and we have brand new developments in a story we have been following for the last few days. And this is a welcome update here. Just in the last few minutes, the Gwinnett County Police Department confirms that Master Police Officer David Reed, who was shot multiple times over the weekend and at the time had been listed in serious but stable condition, he has now undergone surgery, and the Gwinnett County Police Department reports he is doing well at this time. David Reed, Master Police Officer David Reed, was one of two Gwinnett officers shot in the line of duty over the weekend. The other, 25-year-old officer Pradeep Tamang, was killed in what Gwinnett County Police described as a, quote, unprovoked attack. The suspect in that case has been identified and been arrested and charged with murder. Officer Tamang's memorial service is scheduled for this Saturday. But again, the very latest update on Officer David Reed's condition just moments ago, the Gwinnett County Police Department confirming Officer Reed, Master Police Officer Reed, has undergone surgery, has come out of surgery, and is doing well at this time. We turn now to other big stories we are tracking today. It is another very active day of news here in Metro Atlanta. You're looking now at a live image from the Rick Jackson for Governor campaign launch. We'll be waiting to see when Rick Jackson takes the podium there, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. We're also watching the third day of the Tara Reid murder trial, a more than 20-year-old cold case murder in the case of the killing of 23-year-old University of Georgia law student Tara Reid back in 2001. Prosecutors have now brought murder charges against a man. We're on day 3 of those court proceedings before a judge and a jury in Clark County Superior Court. We'll take a live look into that courthouse a little bit later coming up. And we are also tracking new developments in this fast-moving and impactful story here in Atlanta. Last week, federal agents from the Federal Bureau of Investigation executed a search warrant on the Fulton County election hub, seizing 2020 election ballots and other materials. Today, Fulton County leaders filing a lawsuit seeking to recover those seized materials and an unsealing of the affidavit supporting the search warrant that was executed. We'll have much more on that in just a moment. And again, we're watching a live picture from the podium here in this Rick Jackson Campaign for Governor kickoff event, a surprise entrance into this GOP governor primary. We'll have much more on that coming up in a moment. But right now, we are joined by meteorologist. We've been doing a lot of listening to the meteorologists this week. Melissa Nord joining us now. Melissa, things seem to be trending upward, I hope.
Yeah.
This is good.
We've had some rain. It's been a little gloomy, but almost spring-like outside. I think a lot of people are thankful that it's been rain and not snow this time.
We have some memories of that.
Ice.
Recent memories.
A lot of recent memories of covering many systems. This one in the nuisance category of events for us. That's been good news, but still a little dreary out there this Wednesday afternoon. Let me show you what it looks like down in Henry County. This is a live look at Echo Park Speedway there in Hampton, Georgia. We still have some dampness on the track in the background. Low clouds are with us as well. Temperatures right now are in the 50s over North Georgia, and as we head through the day today, we're going to see those numbers being a little stubborn to warm up. We're probably about at the high temperatures for this afternoon. Gabby, if you can access Max 5, my clicker does not want to work today. I think it's been used on overdrive, as we've talked about the last couple of afternoons.
It's been feeling that fatigue over the last couple days.
Oh, you know what? I know why. I just skipped through all my graphics. You've got the camera up. Switch it to Max 5 for the source, if you can. Great. This is the beauty of live TV. So it's been great. It's been, we picked up, quarter of an inch to a half an inch of rain in parts of North Georgia. You see that rain working through from west to east. We're seeing it dry out north and west, but there's still a little bit of that rain coming down. Athens is just about drying out. We still have some of that rain from Madison to Greensboro and Lake Oconee along I-20, and then a little heavier rain you hit there in southern Butts County and also out towards Monroe County. Barnesville where we're tracking some of that rain coming down. But this is going to exit. We'll see dry weather moving back in for tomorrow. That means that you may not see sunshine all day tomorrow, but at least your driving conditions on the road will look a little bit better. We'll see those clouds trying to break up a little bit around sunset tonight, but honestly, I think they're with us through the overnight. We'll see a bit of a breeze building in, so hopefully not too much fog. But tomorrow we'll start with clouds and finish with some sunshine. But a little cool down coming. We're at 53 right now in Atlanta. As we head through the overnight, we'll see those numbers dropping back to around the freezing mark. Watch our temperature pattern. There's the blue, the cooler air coming in tomorrow. It's only with us for about a day or so. Then we've got 50s coming back in, and those 50s should last into the weekend. It looks much nicer for Super Bowl Sunday as well, for a little maybe flag football outside in advance of watching that big game on 11Alive in the evening hours. So rain showers exit today. We're looking at a breezy and cooler day tomorrow, and then smooth sailing into the weekend and even warmer weather next week. But as we bring in warmer temperatures, that can mean severe weather. We'll talk about today's topic in Severe Weather Preparedness Week today at 2:30.
Melissa, we know we are looking forward to that conversation, an important conversation about getting ready for the severe weather that, as you have pointed out on 11Alive Plus and on air, it can come any time of year in Georgia.
It can, and today's topic, tornadoes. So we'll break that down month by month ahead.
Thanks, Melissa. We're going to turn now to our Doug Richards, who has been tracking the very latest in this very rapidly developing saga between the federal government and some local Fulton County elected officials. It all kicked off last week when FBI agents executed a search warrant on the Fulton County election hub. Now, some Fulton County leaders are filing a lawsuit in response. Doug Richards, you've been following all of this. Where do things stand right now?
Fulton County is sort of officially fighting this now, taking it to court. It's possible that a judge could schedule a hearing. It's possible that the federal government could respond to Fulton County's challenge. We're in kind of uncharted territory here, so whatever happens ahead may be unprecedented. The seizure of election ballots at the Fulton County warehouse in Union City last week is unprecedented, and the next steps are unclear. We have a copy of some body cam footage recorded by police who were in the election warehouse with the FBI last week as federal authorities seized ballots and other material from the 2020 election that Donald Trump lost. Under Trump's apparent direction, the FBI took the ballots, which may be analyzed to gather evidence to support Trump's claim that the election was stolen from him. Fulton County's commission chairman spoke today about the abrupt transfer of the ballots last week.
Well, first of all, we don't know where they are. We don't know really who has them. We don't know what they're doing with them. Are they being tampered with? I can use my imagination, and I would certainly hope not, but we don't know. So that's why we'd like to get them back so we can take an inventory.
Rob Pitts also speculated that he and other officials might face arrest, though no arrests have taken place in this case since last week's raid. Pitts, by the way, says that he has no grievance with the FBI agents who actually conducted the raid. He says that they were doing the job they were told to do, but he's hoping that the courts will agree with Fulton County's contention that the ballots belong in the possession of Fulton County and not the federal government. Zach?
Doug, one question for you. Obviously, we're hearing from Fulton County leaders here. Has the FBI or the Trump administration weighed in at this point on this newly filed piece of litigation?
The short answer, to my knowledge, is no, unless they've done it in the last few minutes electronically. Things tend not to move that fast, particularly in a case which really doesn't have a lot of precedent, you know?
Unprecedented is a word that folks like yourself, who've been covering Georgia politics for a number of years now, are getting accustomed to. We should remember, too, this all comes as we head into the heart of the 2026 midterm season. Doug, I know you're going to be on top of it all year long. Doug Richards, thank you very much.
As will you.
Appreciate it, Doug. Yeah, it is a team effort here with the 11Alive Politics team trying to keep up and keep on top of what has been a very busy season in our politics. And we're going to be covering more of that in just a little bit as we continue to monitor the podium in the Rick Jackson for Governor campaign kickoff event. But right now we're taking a look live inside of Clark County Superior Court, where we are on day 3 of the cold case murder trial, the case of the killing of 23-year-old Tara Baker, who was in her first year at the University of Georgia's law school. She was killed in 2001. The case went cold for several decades, more than 20 years. Now the case has finally seen the inside of a courtroom. A defendant has been charged. A jury is hearing evidence as we speak. Marissa Sarback joining us now. Marissa, you've been following the ins and outs of this case all week long. Bring us up to speed on the very latest here.
Well, so today we're still hearing from some of the prosecution's witnesses. This morning we started with fire experts, and then we moved into some of the neighbors that were in the area at the time. One really interesting testimony today that we heard from actually wasn't somebody who lived in the area, but she was a tow truck driver. She worked with her husband for a tow truck company. They were in the area, happened to be in the area picking up a car during that time. And we actually have the audio from court, so if we can, I want to play her testimony for you.
Got there at 8:15. You stayed in the truck. What did you see after that?
While he was loading the car, I saw a black male walk from the road that connects right in front of it. He was probably in his late teens, early 20s. And he just walked past the wrecker and kind of looked at the wrecker and just kept walking.
So he come out the street that was just down below you.
Yeah, across
He come out that street and walked towards you and then past the wrecker.
and past the wrecker.
Did you see where he went to after that?
No. I just watched him until I could see him anymore in the minute. Because I didn't know whether he was going to get the money or something.
What brought his attention to you?
Well, he was walking by himself, and it was about 8:20, somewhere like that in the morning, and it just looked odd in the neighborhood.
So what you're listening to right there is her
Walking by
listening
himself,
to
and he was
the audio
dressed,
recording from her original interview back in
Well, he was walking
2001.
by
And this is the
himself.
sketch also that was put up, drawn after she gave her testimony drawn after she spoke to the detectives in this case back in 2001. So prosecutors are trying to refresh her memory, Zach, of what this sketch was, the interview that she gave to detectives at the time, and they brought her back on the stand to listen to that with the jury and then answer some questions. And then you're looking at the cross-examination there on the screen as well.
And you're seeing the defense up there. We're just seeing the defense up there now holding up that police sketch. What has stood out to you so far today, either in that testimony or in the defense's cross-examination here? Because this is a case, like any case, the state and the defense are going to present very different versions of how they see things playing out.
Right, and especially after they brought that sketch out, and the prosecution had other witnesses after that also gave similar testimony, and they replayed audio back from 2001 that were talking about similar situations where another neighbor said the same exact thing to the cops. I saw a young black man about late teens, early 20s, dressed in the same exact orange hoodie jacket, and said that she saw the same thing. So in that, they're replaying these audio clips from 2001 for the jurors. And so that's something that's really stuck out to me, is that it's been similar testimony. As for the defense, they still go back to there's no direct evidence. They've said there's no fingerprints from the scene. There's no eyewitnesses, anything like that. Like all of this, they're just saying that this is just no direct evidence, but circumstantial evidence.
And Marissa, I know you're going to stay on top of this trial as we continue to track it live throughout the day. Marissa, thank you very much. We're going to turn now to the first public speech by Rick Jackson, a Republican who, surprising many, launched a campaign for governor yesterday. He is a wealthy healthcare executive. He is delivering his first official speech as a candidate for Georgia governor. Let's listen in.
And to be an American, because only in America is a story like mine possible, and I'm eternally grateful. But at some point, you have to turn gratitude into action. Because when a kid grows up in the projects with an alcoholic mother and no father, and who bounced from foster home to foster home, when that kid grows up to be a founder of a multi-billion-dollar company, he has a choice. In 2008, at a ceremony to open this building, I stood in this very spot, and I told you I was adopting a philosophy from moving from success to significance, living a legacy of giving and impact. We dedicated this building to that mission, and because of you, we have lived it. We have led the way in giving and impact, providing medical care to over 20 million patients per year. Our efforts save hundreds of lives every day. We built an environment where you can be your best, earning Best Place to Work more than 18 years in a row. Our main cultural value, others first, is proven not only by what we say, but by what we do. You all know me. Today I'm here to tell our story and to speak to all Georgians. First, let me tell you a quick story that sets the stage. When I first started getting involved in public policy, I went down to the state capitol to testify for foster kids, pushing for better policy to help those who need it most. When I finished, a state senator, the committee chairman, thanked me and said, "Mr. Jackson, I've been here for 17 years, and I have never heard once the words foster care." Y'all, that hit me like a ton of bricks, because it proved what many of us already suspected. The system forgets the people who don't have money, power, privilege, or fame, not those who need it. Right then, I committed to do everything I could to help those without a voice, without a lobbyist, without a checkbook, to make their voice heard. And together, we passed a bill that today helps 500 young people who aged out of foster care to go to college. Now, they have a real chance to break the cycle of dependency and poverty. They can gain purpose and dignity by having the ability to secure a good job in the future, by helping them to achieve their American dream. And now I want to take that drive and passion to fight for all people and make it even more impactful for more than 11 million Georgians. Today, I'm proud to announce that I'm running to be the next governor of the great state of Georgia. I never planned to do this, but Georgia is at a critical crossroads. And we need a conservative business leader to shake things up, not another career politician. Another career politician just looking for money and power. Georgia needs someone who thinks of others first. When I looked around the field of candidates, I saw something missing. Someone from the outside, someone who has lived the struggles that most politicians only read about in briefing books, someone who isn't beholden to the establishment, and I saw no one that has ever been a business leader. I saw a so-called front runner who was weak as can be and as lazy as the day is long. He wants, yeah, that's all right, thank you. Really, he wants the title of governor, but not the job. We would be risking losing his seat to a radical Democrat or a Republican who acts like one. I wasn't willing to sit and let that happen to our president or our great state. We've seen what happens when a true outsider steps into Washington and shakes the whole place up. Someone who takes on the bureaucrats, takes on the media, takes on the entrenched political class, and actually fights for the people who built this country. President Trump proved you don't have to come from the political class to make a real change. You need courage, grit, someone who works hard as hell and never gives up. The establishment hated Trump because they couldn't control him. They'll hate me for the same reason, and I can't wait. This race isn't about me. You guys know that. It's about every one of you. If you've ever felt the system was rigged, that's because it is. The political class protects itself. The media protects them, and the lobbyists prop up the whole thing. It's a cartel. And I'm coming to break it up. Make no mistake, Atlanta can be as big a swamp as Washington. I've lived it. I know. To be blunt, I'm the only candidate in this race who doesn't owe a thing to the political establishment or the lobbyists. I don't care what the insiders want, how much they beg, or how much they give. I can't be bought. And I won't back down either. Not only do I not need their money, I'll spend whatever it takes to win this race. Take away their power, give it back where it belongs to the people of Georgia, especially the hardworking men and women who have been forgotten and left in the shadows for too long, just like I was. Some people have told me I must be crazy for doing that. No less than 40 texts in the last 2 days. But here's why. I owe a debt to this state that I can never fully repay, but I will spend every day for the rest of my life trying. I have given away millions of dollars each year to help people help themselves build a better life. Let me be clear. It's not my money. It's God's money. He has simply blessed me with it and expects me to be a good steward to help others. But through all of that giving and all of that advocacy, I've seen how the system favors the powerful and breaks the everyman. The only way we're going to fix it is from the inside out. So I know exactly why I'm doing this. And I'm in this fight to win big for Georgia. When you fought to eat like I have, fought to stay safe, fought to survive, you don't forget the people still fighting. My fight for Georgians starts with making Georgia more affordable. Georgia families are getting squeezed. groceries cost more, rent costs more, health care costs more, and property taxes are completely out of control. A lot of politicians talk about affordability, but talk never paid a bill. To them, it's just a political bumper sticker to get elected. And they've been in office for years, and they've done nothing. They hold a press conference and hearings, and they write letters and appoint study committees. Meanwhile, Georgia families are getting further and further behind. I've lived with nothing. I know what it's like to make every dollar stretch, and I know how to build something from the ground up. As governor, my mission is simple: make Georgia the most affordable state in America. That requires real action, not just political talk. First, we will freeze property taxes immediately. No more runaway assessments pricing people out of their homes. Second, we will slash the income tax by 50% in 4 years and fight to eliminate it within 8. Hardworking Georgians deserve to keep more of what they earn. Third, we will save hundreds of millions of dollars by using technology and AI to eliminate fraud and waste, cut bureaucracy, and shrink the cost of government. And fourth, we will freeze tuition, room, and board for colleges and vocational schools so our children can afford an education to have a chance at the American dream. And we will tackle the cost of housing so young Americans can afford to stay here, buy a house, and start a family. Georgia must also be a place where parents want to raise their children. That's why all of this woke nonsense and the complete insanity that's happened across the country in the last few years, it ends in Georgia when I'm governor. If we can't teach Christianity in schools, we're not going to teach the religious woke ideology in school. We will ban every bit of this idiotic DEI insanity and criminalize reverse discrimination. We will judge people by the content of their character. When I'm governor, we will restore common sense in the classroom. Schools are for education, not indoctrination. We will put parents firmly back in charge of their kids' education. We will strengthen the Parents' Bill of Rights, shut down the woke nonsense at its roots, and send a message from the Gold Dome. Government is not a parent. Parents are. Georgia protects its children, and we will stop the radical gender ideology being pushed onto them. Let me be clear. There are two genders, and they're God-given. Boys will not play girls' sports, and boys will not be in girls' bathrooms or locker rooms. And any adult pushing gender transition procedures or ideology onto our kids, they won't just be stopped, they'll be held accountable under the law. Georgia tax dollars will never fund that nonsense, promote it, or encourage it, period. There will be no stronger defender of the Second Amendment, and no one who has the backs of our law enforcement more than me. I grew up in places where police were the only line between safety and danger. While some politicians attack our officers or tie their hands, I'll do the exact opposite. Officers deserve our respect. We will back our men and women in law enforcement 100%. This is not just a political bumper sticker for me. It was the way I was raised. They will have the resources, training, and support they need to keep our families safe. And criminals will get a message loud and clear. I'm going to make Georgia the worst place in America to be a criminal. There will, thank you. There will be no revolving door of justice, no soft on crime coddling, and no blaming society for violent offenders, excusing criminal behavior because someone claims to be a victim is nonsense.
All right, we have been listening in real time to the first official speech of Rick Jackson's campaign for Georgia governor. He surprised many in the political world yesterday, launching his campaign for governor, entering the GOP primary that already includes 3 prominent statewide Republicans running for the job. That's Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, and Attorney General Chris Carr. Rick Jackson is a wealthy healthcare executive, according to a press release accompanying his campaign announcement rollout. He has loaned his campaign $50 million and plans to use $40 million of that money in what the campaign is describing as an, quote, initial ad buy to presumably just about blanket the airwaves across the state for him to introduce his message to Georgia voters. Remember, the primary less than 4 months away now. In this address, Rick Jackson wasted no time in throwing some sharp elbows at the current field of Republicans. He said, this is a quote, "I saw a so-called frontrunner who is weak as can be and lazy as the day is long." He went on to say, he described himself as an ally of President Trump, and he said, quote, "The establishment hated Trump because they couldn't control him. They'll hate me for the same reason, and I can't wait." Rick Jackson spending some time in that address discussing his background growing up in poverty and rising to become a wealthy healthcare executive, laying out policy proposals that includes cutting taxes in Georgia and enhancing the affordability of Georgia's colleges and universities. Also leaning into some conservative social issues. He said at one point, quote, "We will ban every bit of what he described as this idiotic DEI insanity." And he went on to say, quote, "There are 2 genders and they are God-given." We're going to continue to follow his remarks. You can hear much more from Rick Jackson, the brand new candidate for Georgia governor, later on here on 11Alive Plus and coming up on 11Alive News at 4 o'clock, both on TV and here streaming on 11Alive Plus. We're going to turn now to another story that perhaps you are not paying attention to, but I suspect many of you are because it is impacting many Metro Atlanta families. We're going now to Michael Navarrete, who is a policy advisor and economist with the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta. Michael, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
Hey, Michael, thanks for making the time for us here. I understand that you have been studying the impact of inflation on food prices on particular communities.
That's correct. Yeah. Me and my co-author, Silla Kim, in our paper, Geospatial Heterogeneity and Inflation, are studying food inflation across different regions in the US. And we find that from 2006 to 2020, there's higher food inflation in these poorer communities relative to the richer areas. And one of the reasons driving these differences in food inflation has to do with retail market concentration. Specifically, the poorer areas have higher retail market concentration, which means that fewer firms control a larger share of total retail sales. And then when these poorer communities experience a cost shock, they're able to better pass on a higher share of that cost shock to consumers.
Michael, when you talk about a higher concentration of retail establishments in these lower income communities, are we talking about food deserts here, or is this another phenomenon where there are places to get your groceries, but there are fewer firms flooding that space.
Yes. Yeah. So this, I would say, is not the same as food deserts, but it's consistent and with the food desert finding. So typically, when we think of food deserts, we think of rural areas where there might only be maybe one grocery store in like 50 miles. But the research that I'm doing here are specifically for metropolitan statistical areas. So by definition, these are all urban areas. And then we're seeing that for the among the poorest urban areas in the U.S., they're experiencing this higher food inflation. So I would say it's not the same as the food desert literature, but it's very consistent with that literature.
How big of an impact is this having on the average consumer in these neighborhoods who are trying to buy their groceries? How much more expensive are things for them than somebody in a different neighborhood?
Yeah, so in these, what we refer to as the bottom decile of MSAs, the poorest decile, during this period, they experience about half a percentage point of annual inflation more in food inflation relative to the richest decile of MSAs. And if you accumulate over the entire period for 2006 2020, that's an 8.8 percentage point difference in food inflation.
Michael, 8.8%, that's a sizable difference. Let me ask you this last question here. What can be done to resolve this?
There are potential implications. So one could be potentially trying to expand competition in retailers in these poor MSAs, trying to lower entry costs to allow new retailers to come. That could be one way to alleviate this issue.
That is, how easy is that to accomplish in brass tacks?
That is easier said than done. I would say that lies outside the scope of the paper. I would say that's probably not an easy fix.
And certainly a policy question. I know I don't want to take you outside the scope of your paper, but I did want to get your thoughts on that. Michael, is there anything I missed here that you think is important? We're short on time, but I want to give you the floor here as we wrap up.
Oh, yeah, I think the broad takeaways of higher inflation in these poor MSAs, these poor regions, market concentration is one of the driving factors in these differences. And not only do we see fewer retailers in these poor areas, but they also have fewer items. So the basket of goods available for consumers in these poor areas is more limited also. So I'd also like to state that.
Michael Navarrete, we appreciate your time and your research here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Take care.
We're going to turn now. We're going to take a quick break. And after the break, we are going to continue to track a lot of live feeds and a lot of news that continues to develop on this Wednesday afternoon as we approach almost 2:40 in the afternoon. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back in. If you have been following politics around the country or here in Georgia or anywhere else, you know, affordability has been a major buzzword under capitals all across the country and certainly right here under the Gold Dome in Georgia. But it is far from the only issue that lawmakers are paying attention to. A group of Democrats are working to pass Senate Bill 320. That is the Georgia Civil Rights Act, aimed at putting all civil rights protections under one piece of legislation. Our Jonathan Martin talked this morning right here on 11Alive with State Senator Sonia Halpern, who is one of the bill's co-sponsors.
We are about 1 month into the state legislative session, and while affordability and election security have certainly taken center stage, some Senate Democrats are hoping to reintroduce the Civil Rights Act of 2025, which would protect Georgians from discrimination in employment, housing, and in public places. And joining us now is a co-sponsor, State Senator Sonia Halpern. Senator, so glad to have you joining us this morning. I know you have a busy schedule, so we'll dive right in. The bill that you are co-sponsoring says that Georgia is one of only 3 states without comprehensive state civil rights laws protecting people from discrimination in those areas that we talked about: employment, housing, and public accommodations. So how does this how does this proposal rectify some of those blind spots, if you will?
Well, I'm glad to join you. And I introduced this bill last year, and it did not get movement. But as we are at the start of Black History Month, I think it is only right for us to think about the generations of people before us who actually were fighting for fairness and equal treatment under the law. This particular bill seeks to do that very same thing. Georgia is one of only 3 states. We stand with Alabama and Mississippi as not having a comprehensive civil rights law on the books. And so this would rectify that, declaring for sure that Georgia protects Georgians, that you cannot be discriminated against on the basis of your race, your sex, your sexual orientation, your gender identity, your religion, your age, your disabilities. And so it would allow us to just say for sure what is allowed and what is not allowed.
All right, so you certainly talked about this coming up before, obviously a new year and maybe new opportunities to get this passed. You'll certainly need some bipartisan support. What have you heard from your colleagues, specifically those on the other side of the aisle, about this measure?
Well, I'll tell you that this bill, as introduced last year, had some Republican sponsors on it as well. So I think that this is not an issue that is just a Democratic issue. I also had introduced a study committee for us to dive deeper into this topic over the interim when we were not in session. And though that passed with Republican support, it did not get funded. So that work didn't get done. It's really just a matter of making a push again this year, which we've already started to do. And I'll tell you that this bill is not just kind of me in isolation. Organizations like the ACLU of Georgia, the NAACP, the Urban League are all also supporting and pushing this bill because we need to make sure that it's very clear that discrimination is not allowed.
Senator Sonia Halpern, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us.
responsible. He has pleaded not guilty. The jurors are hearing from the prosecution and the defense. We will continue to monitor that case and bring you back live inside the courtroom shortly. We're also keeping track of new litigation filed by some Fulton County leaders and the Fulton County election board, election office, I should say, following the FBI's execution of a search warrant on the Fulton County election facility last week. Now some Fulton County leaders are responding with litigation of their own. We're tracking developments in that case in federal court. And if you've been with us since 2 o'clock, you know there's a new governor candidate in the GOP primary. Rick Jackson is a wealthy healthcare executive who surprised many in the Georgia political establishment with the announcement yesterday that he was entering the governor's race with less than 4 months to go until the primary. Today, we got our first chance to hear directly from Jackson. He delivered his first formal speech of his campaign just a few moments ago. We brought you much of that live right here on 11Alive Plus. We'll have more on Jackson's brand new candidacy a little bit later in the show here and on 11Alive News on television and right here on 11Alive Plus starting at 4 o'clock. But we are also not tracking active severe weather, I want to be clear, but we are watching this week, which is Severe Weather Preparedness Week. Our meteorologist Melissa Nord, brings us this report on some ways you can help yourself be more prepared if severe weather threatens your neighborhood.
As we continue our Severe Weather Preparedness Week special, we are talking about tornado safety today. Today, the state did their statewide tornado drill, so a lot of school kids might come home today and tell you about doing that duck and cover drill at school. But today is all about knowing when we can see tornadoes in Georgia and how you can prepare yourself. And we can see them any time of year. Look at this. Since 1950 to 2025, these are how many tornadoes the state's seen every single month of the calendar year. We have a peak of tornado season between March, April, and May, but every single month of the year we can and have seen tornadoes. Last year, a lot of those warnings were clustered across central Georgia and northwestern Georgia. Those are all the warnings issued, but we had here in North Georgia a really active spring, but a quiet back half of the year in terms of how many tornadoes we ended up seeing. So we had no tornadoes in January, 2 in February, 5 in March, 3 in April, 14 in May. And that May record was set last year with the most number of tornadoes in our viewing area in the month of May on history. We also had one tornado in the month of June and then nothing the back half of the year. And then we turned the corner into January and we had a few tornadoes at the start of this year as well. But there's really no county that is not seen tornadoes in our region. Okay, so remember, watch means watch out. The conditions are present, but it doesn't mean we have a tornado at the moment. When a tornado warning is issued for your area, that means a tornado is already occurring or imminent. So where do you shelter at your house? You want to go to the lowest level of your house, an interior room away from windows and doors. So the bottom floor of your house, that can be a closet, a hallway, or a bathroom, or a staircase. Of course, not an exterior room or your garage. But if you have a house with a basement, that is the best place that you can go to protect yourself. Make sure you have multiple ways to get warnings. That includes the 11Alive app on your phone, perhaps a no-weather radio, so that you can stay safe no matter what time of day.
And this is important information. This is why there's a whole week for severe weather preparedness. This is why our meteorologists refresh our memories when there is the potential for severe weather in a forecast at some point during the year. A lot of you know this. A lot of you, unfortunately, have seen what some Georgia severe weather can look like. We've seen hurricanes impact our state, Hurricane Helene most recently. Some communities are still dealing with the impact of that. Being prepared in advance helps us, all of us who live here, get through those moments as safely as we possibly can. I'm always grateful for those reminders. I know all of you are as well. We're going to turn now to a story of an apartment complex that is reportedly having some issues. Tenants at a Southwest Atlanta apartment complex, they say there are rodents crawling through their walls and vents. And they say management is not paying enough attention to the problem. The residents say they're paying their rent and they're paying for pest control, but they are not getting the results, they say, of what they're paying for. Our Chase Howell was on the scene when code enforcement showed up at that apartment complex.
Tenants say the scratching and tapping noises you're hearing are rats crawling between the walls and through the air vents of this Atlanta apartment. This is a picture of a maintenance worker holding up a dead rat they took out of the neighboring unit.
Their feces, they're throwing their little pebbles out, they're urinating through the vents. So my kids is inhaling that, whatever they're doing inside that vent.
Jasmine Johnson says she's been living in her apartment for close to a year, and rats are getting into her walls because of this massive hole in the vacant unit next door.
No one's seeing us. We're paying our rent, no one's seeing us, and I have to pay the repercussions behind the faulty of the apartment complex.
Johnson says she's contacted property management at Woodlands at Cascade multiple times for multiple different reasons, but they told her they can't do anything about it, despite Johnson's lease showing she pays for pest control. Other residents say they're dealing with the same issues.
I am pissed off because one thing about it, my husband, he's been paying the rent on time.
Tamala Henderson lives next door to Johnson. On top of the rat problem, she says they haven't had water for the past 3 days and haven't had heat since December.
When the heat comes on, it'll blow for a minute, then all of a sudden you hear this noise like, then it'll go out. And it's like, where's the heat? Like, we don't know where the heat is at. Like, it's gone. So now we're using little portable heaters.
When I was at the complex Tuesday afternoon, code enforcement pulled up. The officer went into both Henderson and Johnson's apartments to document the various issues. On Atlanta's southwest side, Chase Howell, 11Alive News.
And we turn now to the ongoing case of the killing of Tara Baker, 23-year-old University of Georgia law student killed in 2001. Her case went cold for decades. Now, prosecutors say they know who committed the crime. They've brought murder charges against Edric Faust. He has pleaded not guilty. The case is now on its third day in Clark County Superior Court. You're looking live right now at ongoing testimony from inside the courtroom, the same testimony that the judge and the jury are hearing. We have continued to monitor this case all week long, and we will continue to do so right here on 11Alive Plus. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back into the 11Alive Plus streaming center. 2:57 in the afternoon on your Wednesday here. A busy day in Metro Atlanta as we continue to track multiple stories that are developing fast today. Right now, if you've been with us throughout the day and throughout the week, you know we continue to watch the ongoing murder trial, the killing of 23-year-old University of Georgia law student Tara Baker, killed back in 2001. Prosecutors have now brought murder charges against the man they say is responsible. He's pleaded not guilty. We're in day 3 of that case. Jurors have heard 3 days of opening statements and evidence, testimony. We'll continue to bring you live images, live video, a live feed from inside the courtroom throughout the afternoon as long as this trial continues, and it is expected to continue for several weeks. We're also watching developing litigation out of Fulton County. Last week, the FBI executed a search warrant on the Fulton County election hub. Now, some Fulton County officials are responding with a lawsuit of their own. We'll have more on that in just a moment. And we are also following, and if you've been with us here on 11Alive Plus, you know this, you saw it right alongside us. There's a new candidate for governor in Georgia. His name is Rick Jackson. He's a healthcare executive, and he launched a bid for Georgia governor as a Republican yesterday. You wonder why are we emphasizing that? It is because there is not a lot of lead time between now and the May primary. We're less than 4 months out. His announcement surprised many in the Georgia political ecosystem. Today, Rick Jackson delivered his first official remarks as a candidate. We'll have more from his opening speech of his nascent campaign for governor in just a little bit. But we want to drill down now on this litigation coming out of Fulton County. As we said, and as you will remember, and as you see on your screen right now, the FBI executed a search warrant that took many hours on the Fulton County election hub last week, gathering what is reportedly hundreds of pieces of evidence focused on the 2020 election operation in Fulton County. Today, some Fulton County leaders have announced that they are responding. They have filed a motion in federal court in response to that FBI raid that took place last week. The parties to the motion include Fulton County Commission Chairman Rob Pitts and the Fulton County Board of Registration and Elections. A Fulton County spokesperson this morning, this is all developing today, a Fulton County spokesperson Wednesday morning, which is today, said in a statement that the motion, quote, seeks the unsealing of the affidavit, and goes on to say that affidavit was in support of the search warrant. The motion also seeks the return of the 2020 ballots and other materials seized by the FBI. We heard recently from Fulton County Chairman Rob Pitts, who delivered these remarks earlier.
Well, first of all, we don't know where they are. We don't know really who has them. We don't know what they're doing with them. Are they being tampered with? I can use my imagination, and I would certainly hope not, but we don't know. So that's why we'd like to get them back so we can take an inventory. In fact, with respect to the inventory, typically.
Again, those are remarks from Fulton County Commission Chairman Rob Pitts, who has been delivering a lot of remarks in recent days, including right here on 11Alive Plus and a live interview with us just a few days ago, as county leaders continue to try to make sense of this search warrant that took place in the Fulton County election hub last week. We at last check in with our Doug Richards, who is tracking this story. We are informed that the FBI has not commented on this latest filing, this latest legal filing earlier today by the Fulton County Commission Chair Rob Pitts and the Fulton County Board of Registration and Elections. This is a fast-moving story. We continue to track all the developments in it. We should end here at this juncture of the story. Many of you will know this, but it is worth underscoring here. This is all taking place at the start of a pivotal midterm election year here in Georgia. This is happening, all of this, at the onset of the real heart of the election season. The May primary, less than 4 months away at this point. We will continue to follow every development in this ongoing story out of Fulton County, Georgia's most populous county. We're going to turn now, though, to our Melissa Nord, meteorologist. Melissa Nord, I practiced that so I can say it properly now. I couldn't do it earlier. Melissa, how are we doing on the weather front?
Actually, not too bad now. Look at this live camera over Atlanta. It's still a little gray and gloomy, but there's some like hints that the clouds are trying to break up, as blurry as they are.
And that's better than it looked, I mean, an hour or so ago. It was pretty socked in there for a while.
We're improving a little bit. So we've still got the low clouds. We've still got, clouds over the airport as well, clouds over the rest of kind of North Georgia, but we're going to see those clouds breaking up and a little more sunshine on the way for tomorrow. So it's really not too bad outside at this point. I am looking at some rain still south and east of Atlanta. Next 5, Gabby. But you can see on radar, we've got, there we go. Is it wanting to go? There we go. There's the little bit of sunshine I wanted to show you. Thank you.
Look at that. We can see our skyline.
It's trying to. We can see the top of the skyscrapers finally. Even I think the Pencil Building, if we were to turn the camera around a little bit, we'd see some of the Pencil Building. You see that one darker spot in the map on satellite? That's our hint of sunshine coming in. It's in the northwestern suburbs right now. Rain, though, has still been pesky and persistent. Areas south and east of Atlanta, but it's finally getting its way out of here. This is a cold front, so behind this, it is going to turn colder tomorrow, but for your evening commute, at least, we're going to see those roads drying out here over North Georgia. Still some of that rain coming down I-20 right over Lake Oconee. Also, as you drive just south of Butts County, closer to the Macon area, there's still a little bit of rain coming down there. And then in northwest Georgia, we had some fog that was really stubborn. That's also eroding away. So temperatures have popped up a degree or two over the last couple of hours this afternoon. We're up to 54 in town, 52 in Canton, and still some cooler temperatures in northwest Georgia. It's just 45 right now in Dalton. Clouds are with us tonight. Clouds are with us tomorrow morning, but by tomorrow afternoon, we're finally going to see some dry air coming in, and that should scour out some of this cloud cover. So it's felt very springy outside with the higher humidity. Tomorrow, not going to feel as springy. It's a little brisk outside tomorrow. We're going to call it mid-40s for highs. Bit of a breeze, but that cool snap does not last long. You can see the green colors on this temperature map by the weekend and early next week. That's denoting some milder air coming in. In fact, I think we could see a series of days with temperatures above average, which I haven't been able to say the last several weeks. So we're turning upwards in those temperatures after we get past the little drop in the roller coaster tomorrow. So we're in the 50s right now, 45 for tomorrow, 55 for Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday, perhaps around 60 degrees. You can see forecast track here. Those bit of thinner spots in the clouds are with us through sunset. Clouds are back here tomorrow morning. Kind of a northeast wind tries to build in, keeping some of those clouds around, but then we should see those thinning out. And sunshine coming in for tomorrow afternoon. That'll be nice to see sunshine coming in for tomorrow afternoon, temperatures in the 40s, and then we get a little bit warmer. So I just want to show you your weekend forecast here. It's not bad. Have we seen a weekend like this year?
Certainly not the last couple weekends.
I don't think we've seen a single weekend like this year.
I'm excited to see this weekend. You and I have been spending a lot of time here on the weekends, which is great, and we're happy to do it.
There's been like 3 back-to-back weekends of winter weather. Then we had severe weather before that. So this is our first like totally dry, decent weekend, I think, of the year.
And just in time for the Super Bowl, right
Yeah.
here on 11Alive.
Go play some flag football briefly, and then watch everything on 11Alive.
Shaping up for a good weekend and a deserved weekend. Melissa Nord, thank you very much.
Sure.
All right, we are going to return now to that developing news that we continue to follow out of Fulton County and the fallout, the reactions, and the responses that we are tracking to it. Again, if you're just joining us, last week the FBI executed a search warrant on the Fulton County election hub, seeking and seizing documents and ballots related to the 2020 election. Just this morning, just a few hours ago, some Fulton County officials, including, according to a spokesperson for Fulton County, the Fulton County Commission Chairman Rob Pitts and the Fulton County Board of Elections and Registration, filed suit of their own. They filed a motion in response to the FBI's search warrant, seeking the unsealing of the affidavit that was in support of that search warrant, and also seeking the return of the evidence that was seized at last check with our Doug Richards about 45 minutes ago or so now, who has been tracking this story. No response to this latest piece of litigation from the FBI at this point. We will continue to track that. But it's not just a local or a state story. This has become a national story with national interest once again on Georgia politics, and Georgia's election system. Our Faith Jesse, my co-anchor on the Georgia Vote, a core member of the 11Alive political team, a woman who wears many hats. You just recently, just in the last hour or so, talked with Georgia's Senator Raphael Warnock about this. What did he tell you in your conversation?
Well, Zach, I'll tell you what, it's something that we've heard many Democrats talk about and even some Republicans. But what he is talking about here is just the fact that this election, he believes that it was a fair election in 2020, and he believes that this move is a move to undermine the election process. Like you were just explaining, there are a lot of questions about this, what some are calling a raid, what some are calling search warrants being executed, but the reality of it is that the 2020 election was won by President Joe Biden, former President Joe Biden, but President Donald Trump he continues to dispute that. He says that he does not believe that. He continues to say that the election was rigged and stolen. If you all remember, back in 2020, there were multiple recounts. Governor Brian Kemp, as well as Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, were at the helm of that. There was a specific phone call, which led to a specific indictment against the president. And here we are now in 2026 with what we see, this search warrant executed at the FBI, or excuse me, at the Fulton County Election Hub by the FBI.
And Faith, I know that that was not the only focus of your conversation with the senator. He visited Minneapolis just a few days ago in the wake of the fatal shooting by federal immigration agents of Alex Preddy, a protester in Minneapolis, the second demonstrator who was fatally shot by federal immigration agents in just a few weeks in that city. Senator Warnock visited the memorial to Preddy. I know you talked to him about his views on what's going on in Minneapolis and immigration enforcement across the country. What did he tell you?
That's right. I mean, and it's really interesting too, because I'm pretty sure, and if you're watching this and I'm wrong, let me know, but I'm pretty sure we're one of the first local stations. He spoke with me and Sarah Callis from Georgia Public Broadcasting this morning since that trip from Minneapolis. And what he was saying is that, you know, he went over to Minneapolis as a senator, but also as a minister. He gathered there with faith leaders, and he is very against this. He does not believe what ICE enforcement is doing right now is right. He does not believe the actions that they are doing is right. He believes that it is against the Constitution, and he went there to pay his respects to Alex Preddy, as well as Renee Goodman, who was shot and killed by the hands of ICE enforcement officers before him. We do have a couple of clips. I think since we were talking about ICE, we'll go ahead and pull that one up first. Here, yeah, you were good. Here's what he had to say when I asked him about what specific policies he wants to see he can do as a senator that he can push for between now and November in regard to ICE. Take a listen.
Let me be clear where I stand. No more masked men jumping out of unmarked cars on our streets. No more using children as bait. No more barging into the homes of ordinary citizens without a warrant. These are basic civil protections that I learned in 9th grade civics class. You don't have to have a law degree or to serve in the Senate to know that these things are wrong, and I intend to hold the Trump Vance regime that is trying to turn our American democracy into an authoritarian experience, I intend to hold them accountable.
Yes, sir. He says that he intends to do what he can in the Senate to hold the president and those behind the president accountable for this. Ultimately, he said it's going to be up to the voter to decide in November, as well as the midterms in May, but ultimately in November to put people in places of power who can make decisions. As you know, the Republicans do have the majority. Many Republicans are following the directive of President Donald Trump, who this was a campaign promise that he has remained true to with ICE enforcement. This is nothing new. He had campaigned on this, and he is sticking to it and continues with the immigration enforcement. But Senator Warnock, as well as Senator Ossoff, and several Democratic senators, as well as representatives in Washington, they say that they are doing what they can do now in their power to make sure that the people of Georgia are protected.
And Faith, obviously, you know this well. We cover this together. 2026 midterm year is here. We are coming up on the heart of the midterm election cycle. Senator Warnock is not up for re-election this year. His colleague, though, fellow Democrat Senator John Ossoff, is. We've been talking a lot today about the Republican primary in the governor's race. The Republican primary in the Senate race has also gotten a lot of attention, has become increasingly heated. Whoever gets the Republican nomination will go on to challenge Ossoff in November. Overarching all of this conversation about elections is what happened at the Fulton County election hub. That has become, once again, a central theme of campaigns and our election conversation. I wonder if the senator said anything on that front.
So he did not speak about the campaign specifically, but since you brought that up, I do have some statements from Mr. Ossoff regarding the FBI raid. The statement that we have, it says, Donald Trump's conspiracy theories about the 2020 election have been based in Georgia from the very start. We need to be prepared for Trump to continue abusing his power in an attempt to undermine Georgians' voting rights in the midterm elections. I challenge my Republican opponents, Buddy Carter, Derek Dooley, and Mike Collins, to answer a simple question. Did Donald Trump win the state of Georgia in 2020? That is a statement from John Ossoff. Of course, I did reach out to all three campaigns. I'm just checking my phone right now to make sure that I did not get a text message between now and when I received this. I did receive one statement, however. I have not received statements from Derek Dooley or Mike Collins, but Buddy Carter did send in a statement saying, unlike John Ossoff, I have no problem telling the truth, which is that Donald Trump won the state of Georgia in 2020. After years of lawfare against the president, we are finally having a proper investigation that I hope will get to the bottom of the fraud that occurred in that election. Look no further than recent reports of people registering to vote from addresses beneath bridges and empty lots for proof of that. If Ossoff is truly concerned with election security, he would sponsor the Save America Act and ensure only American citizens register to vote, but that would chip away at his voting base, so he prefers to maintain the loopholes that allow illegal immigrants to vote in our elections. That is according to Representative Buddy Carter. It's important to note that election fraud was investigated several times in 2020, and nothing was found during those multiple audits. However, just like Buddy Carter, Congressman Mike Collins, who I spoke to last week, he says, we want to see the truth come out of this. I asked him, well, was the truth not revealed in 2020? He said, we'll have to wait and see. Now, on the FBI raid, I did ask Senator Warnock about it. Here is part of our exchange. Our producer is going to pull that up for you.
Senator, you are leading that oversight effort with Congresswomen Nikema Williams, Lucy McBath, and a lot of voters here in Georgia are wondering what is going on. You've requested this meeting with Pam Bondi. If she refuses to give you a briefing, what specific consequences will you push for, and what authority do you have to enforce that?
Listen, we will keep raising these issues. Donald Trump tried this in 2020. And the voters of Georgia, they were the ones ultimately who held him accountable. They fired him. And try as he might to disrupt our elections in 2026, part of the response, and I'll continue to do my work as a voice for Georgia in the Senate, But part of how you respond to these awful efforts at voter suppression is to turn out in such large numbers that the outcome is overwhelming and cannot be disputed. And so I think Georgians have seen this before. They don't take kindly to people messing around with our elections. And I think that Donald Trump and the people who are collaborating with him, those who are supporting him in Congress, are going to pay a high price for this come November.
So yeah, you just heard there, he has requested a briefing with Pam Bondi on this, hoping to get some answers as of what was taken, why it was taken, and what will come out of this. Will the briefing happen? That remains to be seen, but he is leading that effort with Congresswoman Nikema Williams as well as Lucy McBath. So we will see what comes out of it.
Faith Jesse, my colleague on the Georgia Vote, my colleague tracking all of what is going on in Georgia politics. Faith, thank you for bringing us this interview. And we should point out, too, if you want to see the full interview, the entire conversation with Senator Warnock and our Faith Jesse, it is streaming right now here on 11Alive Plus, where you can also see Faith's conversation with Congressman Mike Collins from last week and my conversation with Congressman Buddy Carter. You can watch all of that here on 11Alive Plus. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back into the 11Alive Plus Streaming Center. I'm Zach Merchant as we approach 3:20 in the afternoon here on Wednesday, February 4th. And we turn now to Natalie Kaiser, who is joining us from the organization House ATL. Natalie, I understand that your group advocates for housing policy in Metro Atlanta, and you are opposing some legislation pending under the Gold Dome.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you for having me, Zach. And we're also supporting some positive thing that's happened, which is Governor Kemp's budget request for $50 million for a homeless response grant program.
And Natalie, let's start with the support of this grant program. Why does it stand out to you and your organization as something that you want to support?
So there's been a really dramatic increase in the demand for affordable housing, and there's been an increase in homelessness in recent years, and it's really time for the state to step up to the challenge. So we're pleased that Governor Kemp is showing leadership with this dedication of $50 million to the Housing Trust Fund. And, for an example, in Georgia in 2024, there were 46,000 Georgia children who were homeless. And this was an increase of 5,000 children from the year prior. So the need is dramatic, and it's important to take positive steps now, which is why we're also concerned about some negative bills that we feel like are going in the opposite direction.
Tell me about those bills. Why do you, I believe it's House Bill 61 and House Bill 295. Why do you oppose those?
That's right. So House Bill 295 criminalizes being homeless by pressuring local governments to arrest people for things like panhandling or loitering or public camping. And arresting and incarcerating people who are suffering is very costly, and it only amplifies the problem rather than really assisting to address the issue. So people who are arrested, frequently they lose important documents like their ID. They lose contact with street outreach workers who are trying to help them reach housing stability. It's very stressful to go to jail, so it may exacerbate mental health challenges that they have. They may lose access to medication. So it slows down the process to housing stability. It doesn't help address homelessness.
There are, Natalie, I want to give you a chance to respond. I am sure there are people who are in favor of these two House bills and see them as something necessary. What would you say to somebody who might see that bill and be in support of it?
I understand that there are a lot of people who are concerned about homelessness and housing issues, and I think there is pressure to try to respond to constituents and do something to address them. I think it's responsibility of us who work in the field to be sure that we're doing a good job of educating people about what works, what we know from experience works. The second bill, House Bill 61, addresses an issue that people are not very familiar with, which is the fact that a lot of families are living long-term in extended stay hotels. And in fact, many children are. So in 2023, Georgia identified that there were almost 9,000 school children living long-term in extended stay hotels. And that bill would deny a family the right to be recognized as a tenant if they're living there for months and for years, which Georgia Supreme Court said was the law. So it would undo a Georgia Supreme Court ruling.
Natalie, we have some big events coming up in Atlanta, including the World Cup coming to Atlanta this summer. Sometimes big events have a big impact on the unhoused population in our city. Is your group tracking potential impacts from these major events?
We're working with lots of.
Natalie, can you hear us? I think we might have just lost your signal here. Yeah, I think we just lost Natalie Kaiser from House ATL, unfortunately. We're going to have to pick that conversation up at a later time. But Natalie, if you're still listening in, we are grateful for the time that we did get to spend with you. We're going to turn now to our Molly Oak, who joins us in studio once again. Hello, Molly.
Hey, Zach, how are you?
Good. Yesterday, we talked about ongoing challenges at the Fulton County Jail and the Rice Street facility in particular. Yes. You are back now with more details on this situation that has been a conversation point, not just for weeks, for months, but for years.
Yeah, something that I know I've been covering since I started at the station almost 4 years ago. And then this past week, we really saw a couple of hard-hitting news aspects with the jail. One with the flooding over the weekend, toilet that ended up leaking during a repair, flooding 70-some-odd thousand gallons of water through 3 floors of the jail. Then fast forward to yesterday, we got a 30-plus page report from the ACLU with some pretty scathing report, honestly, calling the jail and the overcrowding at the jail a crisis, saying it was a public safety hazard and a health hazard as well, with concerns ahead of all of the events coming this summer. So today we're now talking with Commissioner Mo Ivory, did a one-on-one with her. She was at the jail on Saturday during the flooding, and we're sitting down talking with her about really what can be done at this point, because they passed their budget last month.
Let's listen in, Molly, and Gabby, who's punching the buttons here. Let's listen into that story, and then I'm going to have a couple questions for you, I think, on the back end.
Just days after 70,000 gallons of water dumped through 3 floors of the jail.
Flood after flood after flood, no matter the cause, it just continues to contribute to the breakdown of the facility, of the continuing dilapidated conditions here at the Fulton County Jail.
The facility faced more scrutiny when the ACLU released a 30-plus page report calling overcrowding at the jail a crisis.
It's a total population of 2,968, and there are 70 people sleeping on the floor of the jail today. So if that isn't a crisis, a state of emergency that we should be dealing with on a daily basis, I don't know what is.
Today, I talked with Fulton County Commissioner Mo Ivory about what can be done, given Fulton County already passed its budget last month.
So money was taken out from the jail consent decree at our last meeting, as well as from registration and elections. And then only less than a week later, we had a crisis in both of those areas.
Ivory says there are 2 ways to get money into the jail: modify the budget or declare an emergency so they can pull emergency funds. But she says that's easier said than done.
Not easy. Very hard.
Because of division among the 7 Fulton commissioners.
I am part of the 3 that can't get much passed. I am very frustrated. A lot of the issues that we have are based on our lack of funding in the correct places. It's not so much a lack of having the money as much as it's where the money is being allocated.
So that was Fulton County Commissioner Mo Ivory, who has been outspoken on this issue and who recently announced that she is running for Fulton County Commission chair. Molly, I wonder if any of the other members of the Fulton County Commission, and especially Fulton County Commission Chair Rob Pitts, have weighed in on this issue yet.
So they were in a meeting today. We actually had one of our other reporters, Doug, at the meeting. I asked him to keep an eye and ear out to hear if anything of the jail came up. He said really nothing of note. I did reach out to Chairman Pitts' people, sent them exact quotes from Commissioner Ivory, just saying, here is what she is saying. You are aware of what happened on Saturday. You are aware of the report that came out yesterday. They are working on getting us a statement. We're hoping to bring that to you as soon as possible, hopefully before this story airs again on air at 4 o'clock.
And we do understand that Commissioner Pitts did visit the jail on Saturday as well, early in the morning, or at least that was our understanding over the weekend, correct?
That's my understanding as well. I was told that he was there early in the morning, and then when I was there later in the afternoon, that's when Commissioner Ivory was there.
Molly, we've talked about the impact to the jail and the challenges. It's still under a DOJ consent decree, the challenges that facility faces. But when you look at the political angle of this as well, is this one of the early flashpoints in the ongoing race for Fulton County Commission Chair?
I think it's going to be a main talking point at the very least. This is something that Commissioner Ivory has been outspoken about for quite some time now. I would be shocked if I did not see this as a main point that she continues to bring up.
And last question for you, Molly, because I know you are juggling a lot, tracking a lot. I see a huge report on your desk right now. But the impact of this weekend's flooding on detainees at the jail was what?
So that's an important thing to note, is that when we were talking about the flooding in the jail, it did not, according to the sheriff's office, affect any of the housing units. If anything, it's just, and it is not the first time there has been flooding at the jail. That's another important thing to note. But if anything, it is just another talking point and another kind of notch in Commissioner Ivory's belt of, this is what I have been pushing for. This is why I'm saying we need a new jail. Chairman Pitts, however, has been saying we do not need a new jail. We just need to allocate funding in a different way.
Funding for repairs and building projects there. And you're right, this has been a conversation that's been going on at Fulton County Commission meetings, certainly as long as I've been in Atlanta. You say as long as you've been in Atlanta. I suspect people who've been in Atlanta decades would say the same thing. Molly Oak, thank you very much.
Thanks, Zach.
We're going to go now to a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back into the 11Alive Plus Streaming Center. We turn now to a story that we have been following for a number of days that focuses on a basketball game on Saturday, January 31st. It happened at Morehouse. It was a game between rivals Tuskegee and Morehouse. There is video, you're seeing it on your screen right now, that circulated on social media showing Tuskegee basketball head coach Benji Taylor being placed in handcuffs and escorted off of the court after the game. Our understanding was that no charges were filed. Tuskegee University released a statement declaring its total support of Coach Taylor. We can read more from that statement in a bit. And on Monday, the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, the SIAC, that is the conference that Morehouse and Tuskegee play in, the conference announced that it was fining Morehouse for what it described as an undisclosed amount after it, quote, determined that Morehouse College did not satisfy the required security standards for a host institution, specifically as it relates to crowd control and ensuring the safe entry and exit of visiting teams and game participants. Morehouse at this point has not responded to a request for comment, but we have Gerald Griggs joining us now. He is the leader of the Georgia NAACP and also a practicing attorney. And Mr. Griggs, you represent Coach Taylor at this point, correct?
Yes, I represent Coach Taylor along with Harry Daniels. And so we are trying to get to the bottom of what happened to Coach Taylor on the campus of Morehouse College on Saturday after the game between Tuskegee and Morehouse.
Have you filed any litigation on this issue at this point?
We filed a notice to Morehouse, making them aware of our representation and our request for immediate action in this case. We're looking forward to hearing back from Morehouse, and then if we do hear back from them, we will begin our process. If we don't, then there will be federal litigation filed.
And if you do go that route and go to federal court, what kind of suit would you be filing here?
Civil rights violations. We believe that our client, Coach Taylor's civil rights were violated when he was unjustly taken into custody. He had violated no laws. He had not done anything to necessitate him being embarrassed in front of 2,000 people and millions of individuals who've now seen the video online. So we believe that his civil rights were violated, and we want to get to the bottom of why Morehouse allowed it to happen on their campus.
He was detained, and Mr. Griggs, we may have just lost. Okay, I think we got you back there.
Yes.
Appreciate your patience. Fill us in a little bit. How long was Coach Benji Taylor detained after he was cuffed on the court there?
So for several minutes, we believe almost 30 minutes, he was detained in the rear portion of the stadium in the weight room area. And he was never advised of why he was being detained or why he was being potentially arrested. Because in Georgia, if you're not free to leave, you're in fact arrested. But ultimately, he was released and he's shaken. He was distraught at the time. His wife, many members of his family were present at the game. Of course, the student athletes saw it and many of the fans. So it was completely unnecessary action to be taken on behest of Morehouse. And we want to get to the bottom of why it happened.
Can you shed a little bit more light on, from your perspective, what led up to the decision by that Morehouse police officer to place Coach Taylor in those handcuffs? What was the situation leading up to it?
Yeah, so my understanding was that during the course of the game, members of the football team were present on the baseline. And of course, that's a violation of the SIAH policies. And so Coach Taylor was telling the administration and ultimately told law enforcement that there was a violation. Now, once the football players attempted to get into the handshake line after heckling members of the basketball team, that's when Coach Taylor approached law enforcement and told them this was a violation and he wanted them removed. At which point he was taken into custody. And as you can see from the video, he was shocked that he was being taken into custody. He actually kind of smiled because it was so ridiculous of what was happening. And so that's our understanding of what happened. There's multiple footage of video angles of what happened to Coach Taylor. And again, given what the conference has already stated, he was well within his rights. Given what Tuskegee has already stated, they unequivocally support our client. We want to understand why Morehouse thought it was a good idea to have him detained in handcuffs for a prolonged amount of time.
And you reference Tuskegee's response and the conference's response. I know if folks have been with us throughout this conversation, we talked about the conference's response and their decision to fine Morehouse for an undisclosed amount. They announced that earlier this week. Tuskegee putting out a statement as well on Sunday saying in part, quote, Coach Taylor is a respected professional who has consistently demonstrated exemplary leadership, integrity, and concern for the well-being of his student athletes. Throughout his tenure at Tuskegee University, he has upheld the highest ideals of collegiate athletics and represented this institution with distinction. Mr. Griggs, obviously you said no litigation has been filed yet. You have filed a notice to Morehouse. Where does this go next? Is there an off-ramp that would, you predict, lead you and your client to decide not to file suit?
Yes, I mean, ultimately, if Morehouse clears his name, clears the reputational harm that has occurred because of what happened on their campus, make sure that he has compensated for his pain and suffering, but more importantly, issues a strong statement that this should never have happened. This is the first coach who's ever been arrested on the court after a collegiate basketball game. This has done damage. He's already suffered repercussions from this. He's seeking, of course, medical attention for what happened. But he's also concerned about the reputational harm this has done to him. He's a decorated coach. He's been coach of the year. He's coached at multiple institutions, always had a great rapport with his student athletes, and was in the middle of a very productive and winning season this season. And now to have this happen, to take away from the potential tournament run that the team is on, it just is unfathomable for him to have to go through this. So Morehouse has to make good on protecting civil rights, especially those for coaches. And we want to make sure that our client, Coach Taylor, is appropriately compensated as well as apologized to by Morehouse for what happened at their arena at the behest of their security.
Two last questions for you here, Mr. Griggs. One, you said that you'll be seeking to make sure that Coach Taylor is adequately compensated. What would that look like in a dollar amount?
We don't have a dollar amount. You have to really recognize that he is a decorated coach. He's been coach of the year. He's in the middle of a very good run in the tournament for the conference title. And so you have to understand, this went around the world. We've received calls from around the world in support of him, but this particular video went viral, and now he has to deal with that. When he goes into opposing arenas, there will be signs made about this. They have to understand that this had a disproportionate effect on his professional career, and that has to be corrected immediately. So the first thing Morehouse needs to do is get back in touch with us. We've already sent the notice. They know what we would expect in this case. We can negotiate from there, but they need to make good on this, and remaining silent is only going to do more damage.
Mr. Griggs, you also mentioned that Coach Taylor is seeking medical attention. Was he injured in this altercation or incident?
Well, you have to understand that the emotional trauma of a man being arrested for something that they did not do has an impact not only on Coach Taylor, but his wife who witnessed it, the fans that witnessed it, the family members that witnessed it. So I think that he's going through, emotional distress that has to be properly evaluated and taken care of. And so those are the reasons why he's continuing to seek treatment, but he's also trying to get past what happened and trying to be there for his student athletes, which he's been there for his entire career. So these are a lot of the things that are going on because of what happened last Saturday.
And Mr. Griggs, one last question, if you'll permit me, sir. I appreciate your patience. Excuse me. I appreciate your patience, but I know people who are following the story and following this conversation, many of them will be listening to how you're laying out this situation and nodding their heads along. I suspect there may be some others as well who might see that the conference has fined Morehouse, that Tuskegee has voiced its unequivocal support of Coach Taylor, and as you mentioned, Coach Taylor's trying to move on with his season. I suspect some people may look at this situation and wonder if it's something that could be handled outside of the legal system and without legal representation. To somebody who might voice that question, what would you say to them?
I would say his constitutional rights and civil rights were violated. the best thing that he can do at this point, especially when law enforcement put handcuffs on you, is to contact legal counsel to make sure that your rights are protected. We understand that some people may have the opinion that maybe you don't need attorneys in that case. Those people obviously didn't see the video and see law enforcement place handcuffs on our client. What needs to happen in this case is Morehouse needs to correct the wrong that happened. They need to first and foremost apologize directly to our client, but also make him whole. The reputational damage that has been done and continues to be done has to be addressed. And ultimately, it has to be addressed to the satisfaction of the person who was harmed. So it's great that the conference has come out. It's great that his institution has come out. Now it's time for Morehouse to make good on the wrong that they did.
Gerald Griggs representing Tuskegee University coach Benji Taylor, also the leader of Georgia's NAACP. Mr. Griggs, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, Zach.
And we should point out here, too, as we get ready to go to break, again, we have reached out to Morehouse for comment on this incident. So far, we have not heard back. We're going to go to break right now. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back into the 11Alive Plus streaming center. We're about to bring you an update to a story that we have been covering for some time, and it focuses on a Georgia grandfather and a U.S. Army veteran, Godfrey Wade, who has been held in immigration detention for months. His detention began after a September traffic stop in Conyers for failing to signal. Our investigative reporter, Savannah Levins, has been covering this case very closely for months. Let's set the background now. We're going to play you her first report from December that introduces us to Godfrey Wade and his case.
This is Godfrey's birthday gift. He's a Scrabble aficionado.
In his Covington home,
Oh, was it my turn? Okay, you got the O.
Godfrey Wade's presence is loud. His absence
This call is subject to recording and monitoring.
is louder.
Press 1 to accept the call.
Hey.
ICE detained Godfrey in September after Conyers PD pulled him over for not using a turn signal and arrested him for driving without a license. His fiancée April recorded this video as he was taken away in handcuffs.
He wasn't born in this country, and yet and still, he loves this country enough that he signed up to serve it. And so 50 years later, when he needs this country is turning its back on him.
Godfrey came to the U.S. from Jamaica when he was 15 and joined the U.S. Army a few years later.
A lot of people will watch stories like these and say, well, why didn't he just become a citizen?
We were in the process of becoming a citizen.
She says they frankly weren't too worried until recently. In 2022, under the Biden administration, ICE issued a directive ordering ICE agents to take into account a person's U.S. military service when deciding whether to deport someone. But 11Alive News Investigates obtained an ICE memo issued in April of this year, rescinding that directive. It upholds some protections for active duty military, but explicitly states, quote, an honorable discharge does not prevent an alien from being subject to immigration enforcement. Earlier this year, Georgia Senators John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock and Representative Hank Johnson joined a coalition of 60 Democratic members of Congress demanding the federal government compile a list of service members and veterans who have been detained or deported in 2025. It asked for the list by September 16th. When 11Alive requested that information, we were told it was never provided.
He doesn't deserve what he's experiencing right now.
Godfrey's 6 children and 3 grandchildren now cherish each phone call as he remains detained.
If I didn't believe this country is still great, I wouldn't want to stay here. This country is a great country. I've shed my blood for this country.
Godfrey says he wasn't assigned a case agent until 55 days into his detention. He has no idea when or if he may get a day in court.
I haven't gone to see a judge. They're saying that my situation is final.
Oh, and just like that, he's gone. They ended the call. But randomly, the calls will just end.
Have you come to terms with what you might do if he ends up being deported?
I have not. I don't want to get emotional about it, but it's hard. It's like, what am I going to do? Where is all his, oh crap. Sorry.
She still hopes an exception will be made and Godfrey will walk back through their front door.
Pulling out the Scrabble board and everyone playing Scrabble blues.
So she's keeping the board on the table.
I'm so glad you
and the lights on, just in case. Savannah Levins, 11Alive News Investigates.
Our Savannah Levins joining us now here in the streaming center. Savannah, that was your report from December. Where do things stand now?
Well, that story that you just watched caught the attention of an Atlanta immigration attorney, Tony Kaczynski. He ended up reaching out to the family and is now representing Godfrey. He has since filed an appeal for Godfrey's removal. So basically the issue that happened here is Godfrey Wade had a standing order for removal, meaning he was going to be deported. So when he was pulled over for this failure to signal and arrested for driving without a license, he's transferred to ICE custody. And they say, well, you were supposed to show up to this immigration hearing in 2014 and you never did. So there's an order for your removal. So you're not going to a judge this time. You're staying in detention, and then we're going to deport you straight away. He said, well, wait a minute. I never knew there was a hearing in 2014. When did that happen? Well, his legal team now says that they have since found out that those notices were sent to an old address of his, and in fact, they have found records that they were returned to sender, returned to the court as undeliverable. So his attorney now has appealed the decision for the removal, arguing he never had the chance to make his case, and he never knew about this. He didn't skip it on purpose. So at least now, let the decision be made on the merits of his circumstances rather than a technicality. So that's where things stood. Now, I mean, the immigration courts right now are so backed up. They didn't have a ton of hope of that happening expeditiously. And now, unfortunately, for Godfrey, his attorney says he has now been placed this week on a flight manifest to Jamaica, his birth country, meaning he's likely to be deported.
This week.
This week. They believe by the end of this week. Now, the specific details of what day, what hour aren't releasable even to their own attorneys for security reasons. But they believe by the end of this week, which of course would cause a lot of delays in their appeal process. ICE and the Department of Homeland Security really prioritizes the cases of people being currently held in detention. But if Godfrey, is deported to Jamaica, they estimate it could set back that process 3 to 4 years. And again, he hasn't lived in Jamaica for more than 50 years. His family, his 4 children, 2 grandchildren, all live here in Georgia. I spoke with Tony Kaczynski, his attorney, yesterday, and they said right now their Hail Mary, Zach, is trying to get the support of legislators to reach out to Kristi Noem, to DHS, to the Department of Homeland Security. Here's what he told me about that.
Congressman David Scott's office is leading the charge for us, which we're very much appreciative. He is Godfrey's local representative, and we have been seeking and receiving some letters directed from representatives and senators here in the United States to the Department of Homeland Security, voicing their support, asking the department to exercise its own discretion, which is what they lawfully possess, to allow this case to be reopened and re-examined on the merits of the case, and not allow this address technicality to remove a United States Army veteran from this country and from his family.
So, Savannah, this is the last couple days of opportunity for this appeal to get its day in court before he is deported.
Yeah, and to be honest, again, this was really a Hail Mary, these legislators reaching out and petitioning for him to have a hearing. Unlikely that's going to happen. I mean, he could be on a plane right now.
Let me ask you this, Savannah, a couple questions here. You mentioned in your first piece that Mr. Wade was initially detained on a traffic violation. Does he have any other criminal record?
Yes, that's a great question. So, I think a lot of the confusion is that the traffic arrest was the reason he was being deported. That's not the case. In fact, the reason that he missed that 2014 hearing, that hearing was called for a reason, right? For many decades, he was here in the United States on a green card.
This was the 2014 immigration hearing.
Exactly. So why did that 2014 immigration hearing happen? Well, there were 2 cases. One was a bounce check that he wrote for a car registration. He said he just didn't realize he didn't have the funds. And another one was a domestic case involving his ex-wife, in which some plates were thrown, things like that. There weren't any allegations of physical abuse. I read through the police reports, but he took a plea deal for simple assault, and that is what triggered that hearing in 2014 that he never showed up for. So that is really the reason that he's being deported, and those cases were from the early 2000s.
Last question for you here, Savannah, as we're closing out on time here. What has been, if anything, the response from federal authorities?
None.